There's nothing more powerful in this life than bringing people together over a shared vision and mission. 11 strangers flew halfway across the world to Tanzania to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest peak and the world's tallest freestanding mountain. But this wasn't for our own personal gain or a good pic on Instagram. We partnered up with Selfless Solutions, an organization that gives Tanzanian children access to quality education and hope for a brighter future. We had people as young as 23 and as old as 62 out there ready to crush it. In this video, we'll take you alongside this incredible 7-day adventure to Africa's highest peak. But first, let's take a glimpse into life in Arusha, Tanzania, and how the organization is making an impact on children and the community there.
Selfless Solutions is an organization that I founded after living and working in Arusha, Tanzania as a volunteer for 6 months back in 2018. Our purpose is just to give people the opportunity to reach their full potential. So any project that we can do, one of the things I had in the back of my mind for a long time was, we have some amazing national parks here, the Serengeti and Ngorongoro Crater, and also Mount Kilimanjaro, which is world famous. So I was thinking how we could tie those into raising awareness and funds for Selfless Solutions and the programs we're doing. And one of the things that kind of came to me was, well, let's organize a group climb for Kilimanjaro. The name Climb for the Kids popped up because essentially the money that we would raise from the trip is going to support the kids in the programs that I had already mentioned. I had that in mind for a couple of years, but was never able to do it because our hands were full here. Our team's bandwidth was already at the max. And that's when my friend Dom reached out about getting more involved in our organization. I didn't want to force him into it, but once he committed to really taking charge and leading this, promoting the Climb for the Kids, I knew we'd have the power to reach a lot of people. And so this first year we had 11 climbers, and it was fantastic. And we're looking to do it every year coming forward, and hopefully we'll get to 50, 100, and who knows, maybe thousands of climbers going up the mountain, all for the kids here in Tanzania. And it was really exciting to put this together and see where it goes.
I raised money for Selfless Solutions back in 2022 when I ran the Philadelphia Marathon. Pat actually came down to Philadelphia and supported me throughout the run, which was incredible. But I wanted to get more involved, but life happens, and after about a year and a half, I actually had a sudden cardiac arrest. And as I was laying there in the hospital, I just felt the call to reach out to Pat, come to Tanzania, and Climb for the Kids wasn't even a thing at that point. I just wanted to come here and volunteer. And so when he told me his idea for Climb for the Kids, where we could bring people together to do Mount Kilimanjaro, and how all that money was going to go back into the organization, I was completely on board for it. Even though 3 days prior, I had almost lost my life. So looking ahead, it was 6 months of, okay, well, hopefully I'll be good by then, because I had already committed to going and doing it. And we were able to bring 11 amazing human beings together to come to Tanzania and climb Kilimanjaro.
So we wanted to show them what life was like here in Arusha in 2024. So one day we had a city tour showing them beautiful views of the city, showing them the local markets and things like that. Next day we got to take them out to the village where we do our work, and we were able to take them to our nursery school, tell them the story of that, show them around. They got to see the Shuleni program in action, the kids using those tablets and really enjoying learning English. And we also got to introduce some of them to the families that we're actually serving. So they got to shake their hands, say hello to the people that were benefiting from their trip. All in all, it was pretty amazing just to be able to raise awareness, raise funds, but really just show people what we're about. And we're hoping that they'll go home and be champions for our cause and spread the word, and so that next year we'll have even more people participating.
I think the human experience as a whole is about seeking discomfort and doing hard things. You never know how much you're going to grow from those things, and I think we learn more about ourselves from putting ourselves out there in that way. I'd been looking for an experience, and I stumbled upon the Kilimanjaro climb through Instagram and felt a calling in my heart that this was a place I needed to be and something I needed to be doing. I work as a nurse back in Texas in a pediatric ICU there. So when I heard that the climb was supporting kids here in Tanzania, I felt like that was a great way to follow my heart into something that was not only bettering others, but challenging me as well. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it. I've been here now a month, and just the things that I've seen, the things I've experienced have completely changed my life. I think the climb was one of my most memorable experiences, honestly, of my entire life. And I think an experience away from all of that comfort in your daily life really challenges you and shows you what other people are capable of and what you're capable of. I have made the most incredible friends from this trip. The 11 of us that went have basically become family, and I feel like this is something that everybody should do at least once in their life. I couldn't think of a better way to serve others and learn more about yourself in the process.
We were doing the Machame route, which is the most popular route. On Kilimanjaro, there's a bunch of different routes, but since we started late, we actually ended up hiking in the dark, and only 2 of us had brought our headlamps. So we faced a little bit of adversity on the first day as we were going through the jungle climate, but we got up on day 2 and we had a really good climb on that day. So after our day 2 climb, we were at Shira Cave, and honestly, everybody was really tired. We were getting used to the altitude. We did an acclimation hike in the afternoon, and we came down and we got an unreal performance by the porters and the guides, and it really just lifted our spirits up, and that carried us into day 3 and 4, which were much stronger days. We really started to gel together as a community and as a group. We were all lifting each other up. We got to share a ton of meals together. It was really special and it was really powerful. The guides and the porters were just amazing human beings, like Caribou Tenna, 10 out of 10, just an amazing crew, an amazing organization. They were looking out for everybody, you know, whether you were dealing with a stomach ache or a headache or you needed any sort of accommodations, they were there for you. And then we got up to Karanga Camp on day 5, and then finally to Barafu Camp before we got ready to summit. So the vibes started a little bit low on days 1 and 2, and it was a real shock for all of us. I think we really underestimated the mountain at first, but as days went on, we got closer as a group. We were able to lift each other up, we were able to lift each other's spirits, and we were ready to take on our biggest challenge yet, which was gonna be the summit.
We got up at midnight, had a quick breakfast, got together as a team, come outside the tent, and you look up and you see a trail of lights going all the way up to the mountain. And the trail of lights just disappears into the darkness, and you're trying to look for the silhouette of a mountain, which is covered in darkness at the time. And then next thing you know, troops are rallied and we're off on this hike, and we're climbing over boulders and rocks and going up this trail. And as you go up from camp, you turn around to look back and you see the city lights, a beautiful sight to be able to see that far out onto the plain below. We had a really good experience going up. Our guides actually were able to show us the morning star when it came up over the horizon, so we knew dawn was coming, and then shortly thereafter you could see the east horizon starting to get bright. Sunrise was just spectacular. There's nothing in your way to the east as far as you can see, and you just see the sun coming up. And man, when that sunlight hits you, it's a morale booster. You start to feel a little warmer, you get excited. So we took a pause there just to enjoy the sunrise. And then once the sun's up, you can turn around and you look up and you see the rim of the summit, and you finally start to get an appreciation for how steep the slope is. And you just get an idea of how vast everything is. Getting up to the rim was a great accomplishment. There's a sign there to tell you like what point you're at, the elevation. You get an idea of the accomplishment you've made to that point, and then it really levels off as you go around the rim of the crater. Once you actually do get to the highest point on the crater, again, the view is just spectacular. You got glaciers on either side, it's snow covered. Again, you can see all the way down to the plain below. This time it's in daylight. Those morning hours were great. It hadn't clouded up yet. It was totally worth getting up at midnight to get to the summit a little after sunrise and enjoy those clear hours in the morning. It's really humbling to be at that elevation. You get a very different perspective on the world. You get to experience what being at altitude's like. It's an experience words can't describe.
One of the most life-changing parts of the whole climb itself had to have been summit day. We hiked for probably 8 hours to get to the top. One of the most breathtaking parts of the whole thing was the sunrise. As you're coming up to the top, you're basically eye level with the sun when you get to that altitude. And then finally, we get to this point where we see this morning star coming up, and then the sun's following it, and it was the most absolutely breathtaking scene I think I've ever witnessed in my life. Then we get up to the very top, and it's just all ice caps everywhere, snow, glaciers. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. You know, you think you've seen a mountain from the bottom, but I feel like you really haven't seen a mountain until you've been at the top. And that was something that I will forever carry with me.
Despite all of our sunburn, sun poisoning on all of our lips, that's one thing I would highly recommend for Climb for the Kids 2025 is bring your sunblock for your lips, people. That's very important. On our last day, day 7, we began our 13-kilometer trek down the mountain. Spirits were high because